Hi, good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us for the webinar today, brought to you by INNOVATE Hawaii, part of the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. My name is Ellen, and I'm the Economic Development Specialist here at HTDC. Before we dive into the webinar content, I would like to remind everyone that this session will be recorded and will be sent to all who registered. You're also welcome to send in your questions during the session through the chat function, the Q&A function, and we will address them when appropriate or during the Q&A portion of this webinar. Also, this is the first part of a two-part series, so don't forget to join us again tomorrow at the same time. The Zoom link for tomorrow's session will be sent to you via email, so do check your inboxes. So today we have the awesome team from Hidden Gears here to share how you, as a business owner, should be preparing your e-commerce website for the holiday season. So we have Paolo Vidali, who founded Hidden Gears in 2012. And he has deep experience in both pay-per-click advertising strategy and e-commerce web development. His partner, Akemi Hiatt, is the head of design and project management at Hidden Gears. So I see that they just joined us, so let me stop my screen share. Hey guys. I'm not sure if it's just me, I can't hear you. Yeah, I think now it's better.
You can hear us now?
Yep.
Great. Okay. So I moved to be closer, and of course it kills it. So.
Okay. Thanks for taking time today to join us, guys. I'm gonna hand over the session to you, and then let us know if there's any help we need. Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. I know holiday season doesn't feel like it's quite there yet, but in terms of preparing your business and getting everything ready, the time is definitely now. So what we're going to try to do today is go through and share our advice, what we're seeing, things that have shifted in the landscape over the last year or so in digital marketing and e-commerce, and sort of walk you through some strategies, some tactics, and best practices. So for today's session, we will go through a bunch of different things. We'll be looking at, what your BFCM, Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer might be. What are your goals? Going through email marketing and all kind of related tactics from that. And then tomorrow we'll be going through ads, organic search and social media, and some competitive analysis and wrapping up strategy. So that's overall our kind of trajectory today. So a little about us. We are a web development, design, digital marketing agency, exclusively specializing in e-commerce. Akemi and I are based here in Honolulu. We also have employees on the East Coast, and that's where I was originally based. So we're Shopify partners and experts. We're Google partners as well, fully certified in ads and analytics. We see a lot of data, a lot of stats, and a lot of information from all the folks that we're working with across the country. So we have a pretty big kind of meta perspective on trends and things that are happening throughout the e-commerce space. And we've been doing this for over 7 years full time. For getting ready this season, as I mentioned, we'll be stopping after email marketing today, but we will cover ads and competition and all that fun stuff tomorrow. So hopefully you can join that as well, or at least get a recording from that too. And really for our starting point, before we talk about sales, before we talk about ads, before we talk about strategy, we really need to know what are your goals. So before you start planning, this is really the sort of square one where we want to be. This is really going to inform what you actually do, how much you can spend, and help you calculate what you actually are going to be able to achieve. So the main question is, which I can't answer for you, but for yourself, is what do you want to achieve this year, or what do you need to achieve? I know Q4 in e-commerce is really an outsized quarter. We've worked with some folks who do the majority of their business in this single holiday period, especially if you have a giftable product or if you do discounting and so forth. it makes a huge difference to how your year ends up. And what success looks like could mean a bunch of different things. It could mean you're looking for a certain order volume and a certain pace. You're looking for a specific order value. Maybe your orders have been steady and you know pretty much what your trend line is going to be, but you want to make sure that per order you're making enough for this to make sense and for you to be profitable. And also, you might be looking for a specific amount of new customers. New customer acquisition is huge, and having a repeat base is great, but you always need to get new folks into the door because there will be some churn, there'll be some drop off. And you also may be looking to re-engage your customer base to help strengthen your bottom line as well, especially in harder times and the ups and downs we've all faced with COVID and everything the last year and a half. Sometimes your base is truly your base, and you want to make sure that you re-engage folks and bring them back onto the scene. So you may have targets that are specific to repeat engagement. And then there also might be some merchandising strategies that you want to employ. Maybe you have too much of one SKU, or you have a whole ton of raw material in one product and you're manufacturing and you need to move through it, or if you could move through it by the end of the year, that would be better, etc. So just keeping in mind, is there also a specific product or line or type of product that would be best suited to either discounting or to ramping up volume on because you want to sell through it or get through more of it. Again, these are questions you should have before saying, okay, now I'd like to do this, and before we employ the things that we're going to go through today. And with these sort of goals percolating in terms of this is what I want to hit, this is what I think I can do, this is what my metric is that I'd really be focused on, or if I could do this, this would be great. We really want to focus on the site itself as the first baseline thing you want to think about for BFCM sales. Because if there are things on your site that are amiss, no amount of money in ads, no amount of volume through social media is going to make as much of a difference as fixing those items, addressing those items, and doing what we would call a tune-up. So websites these days are not quite living, breathing things, but they're definitely evolving. They're changing all the time. You may have team members who are changing content. You may have 10 people who are going in. You might have partners, developers, all kinds of things could be happening. And that's all great. And I know as a business owner or the e-commerce manager, you have a lot on your plate, but I'd really encourage you to actually just go through your site, at least on mobile, on an actual mobile device with fresh eyes, and look and see if anything looks off. Particularly when you're doing development or changes on the site. If you're in an office, you're going to be using a desktop computer, and you're going to sort of run through it, and you're going to look on your desktop and say, this looks good. But honestly, there could be responsive design issues. There could be things that just don't align correctly. There could be things that could break and you wouldn't notice it because you're always on your office computer. You want to actually make sure that because the majority of mobile traffic these days is on mobile, that your site is actually functioning, and going through and sitting down and taking the time and really paying attention to that. If you have a couple friends, maybe an auntie, maybe somebody who's not on the site every day, and they also want to take a look and say, hey, can you just tell me if anything pops out to you, looks weird to you, etc. That's also great to have fresh eyes. That editorial perspective is important to finding things that you might otherwise miss. Going through, clicking through every single link in your navigation, making sure nothing's broken, making sure all your policies are up to date. Has there been any major changes to the way you ship, the way you handle returns, any exceptions for returns? Did you switch from UPS to FedEx and forget to update the shipping page? This is the time of year when you have the extra volume and you also have an increased volume of new people. They're going to be checking out saying, oh, well, how do they ship? Or how can I return this? Or if it's a gift, what happens when this? Your frequently asked questions, all of those things are going to be looked at with more frequency. And so just going through and making sure that everything is aligned and still factual and so forth. going to be important to reducing customer frustration, reducing returns and exchanges, and so forth. I would also encourage you, particularly if you made any moves with carriers recently. I know we've worked with a bunch of people who are switching carriers because of supply chain issues and delays or deliverability and so forth. Go through and test your shipping rates for a variety of products on your site. Try to check out as a customer, go through, make sure that the rates that you think you're giving people are actually what's showing up. And if possible, use a bunch of different addresses. Even if find a hotel in New York City, find a community college in Des Moines, whatever it is, find a bunch of different places in the country where you can plug in an address and see, okay, well, actually, FedEx would charge me $49 for this, but I'm only charging $39 in the checkout. Like, is that supposed to be showing up that way? Is there anything that needs to be relinked? Is free shipping or any other shipping promo showing up at the correct increment, etc. I want to make sure that what you think is happening is actually happening, because again, there's going to be a certain percentage of people who will be the squeaky wheel and say, hey, your site doesn't work, or hey, I thought that the promo was for this and it's not working. But the majority of people will not bother to reach out, will not wait for that offer, and they will just bounce. So we need to make sure that what we're offering is actually in sync with the site. We also want to think about any conflicting offers in the sliders, in your pop-ups, any landing pages. It's easy to forget, oh yeah, we had this promotion running and you left it on the site somewhere, or the pop-up is still happening, but you don't see it because you've closed it and therefore you don't see it for another 7 days or 2 weeks or whatever. Making sure that no one's getting a conflicting offer, a welcome offer, sign up offer, etc. Where actually it's not going to work, because with your BFCM promotion, you can't, stack coupons, or you don't want it to apply because then you start losing money, right? So you want to make sure that if there's anything out there in the wild in terms of evergreen offer, that it's actually taken care of and not going to conflict, then you turn it off and bring it back on after BFCM sale is on. You also want to just make sure the checkout's customized, match the site design. Again, I've gone into a bunch of small business websites. Sometimes there's no logo in the checkout, or it's a totally different color scheme. Anything that's going to look off or not look like it's a consistent experience, we want to make sure that everything flows and the wheels checkout are just greased. There's nothing that makes people particularly stop, think about something, question, is this right, etc. It just feels smooth, right? And you've probably already done that, but again, just check all of your steps to make sure there's nothing broken. And ditto on transactional emails. I've gotten really great transactional emails from the brand where it feels like, wow, there's a sort of heart and soul to this, and the way that they're communicating is friendly. And then I've gotten some that are just clearly just generic and whatever. And you know what? It's not the end of the world. Someone's already checked out, but it is another touch point for customers to make them feel good and that they had a good experience, and again, increase that repeatability of their customer base. So obviously for holiday, gifting is a big deal. There's a couple different ways that this can work. For one, we want to think about what the gift experience is like if you are a person who receives a gift card. So for instance, in Shopify, you could create a gift card product. It's a special kind of product, and it gives a unique link to someone. When they go to a unique link, they get put on a page which can be customized. And you can either have a sort of default little gift logo, or you could have your own logo there. Things of that nature. Thinking about, like, if I'm someone who receives this, what is my experience? How do I first enter the site, engage with the gift, etc.? And is that something that feels special? Is it something that feels on brand? Is it something that feels like this is a nice experience? Again, just look at it through those objective eyes and see if there's anything you can do to just lightly customize, tweak that, dial that in, and make sure that, again, nothing looks amiss. I would encourage you generally to offer gift cards if possible. Digital gift cards in particular are one way to do it, and the other would be to sell a more physical gift card that you would mail to someone that would be good at, for instance, at a retail location, or another way of redeeming that. Either one this is the time of year when people are going to look for that if they can't decide what someone likes, or they don't know exactly how they'd like to spend it. But they know that, hey, so-and-so likes this company or has been to this shop or knows about this brand. I think I'll get them a gift card, right? The options for pricing can vary. If you have a more expensive product, I would expect going up a more expensive tier, but I also wouldn't go down to $20 or $30. Generally, we see people start around 50, some start at 75 or 100. Again, the encouragement is to spend a little more, be a little more generous. You know, you could offer maybe 4 tiers, 5 tiers, doesn't have to be super complicated, stepping up by maybe $50. But if you do have much more expensive products, you may want to put some higher tiers out there and see what happens. There's also other types of gift products that are out there. So you could make your own custom gift product. It could be a basket. There could be a custom bundling saying, hey, we've curated this thing and it's together, and it's not actually, physically delivered in a basket, but the idea is that it's a set or a special combo that's seasonal. There's probably some different ways you could make those combos or baskets. You always want to have a kind of a small, medium, and higher price point. So you say, this is a gift for maybe a neighbor or a casual friend. This is for, a spouse or a sibling, and something in between, right? You want to have some options so that people can choose what to give, particularly if you have anything that is good for corporate gifting, food items, etc., which can kind of be universally given out. Having that have certain price points that we can let people choose is going to be important. And there's also might be opportunities for gifts for specific people and theme the gift. And then also I should mention gifts, again, for corporate or B2B type of stuff, having an option saying, hey, do you want us to put together, or an order that goes to 10 different companies and you're doing corporate gifting, contact us. Like give people a way to contact you to make a path so they can do a custom order. Because then you can get to talk to one person, you can sell 10 things at once, right? You can make that also feel like a special opportunity and introduce new customers through that one initial point of contact. So just make sure there's some messaging, there's some idea that you can put a kernel of that idea on the site so that someone says, oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought about that, but actually let me think about this for my corporate gift program. You can also, we encourage you to put together kind of a little mini landing page. This could be a collection or catalog page that's really kind of a gift guide. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could look like a lot of your other catalog pages, but the language is tiered to gifting, and you can just curate your own collection. Hey, do you want gifts? These are things that we know people like, and just bring those in to the fold so that people can go and self-select. But again, you're giving the idea, you're creating a spark where someone can really, have some ideas about what folks might like without having to sort through 100 products, 1,000 products, whatever you have. Here's another example of a sort of tiled landing page. If you have anything on your site where you have, this could be a homepage takeover, this could be a clone of a landing page that you have. Again, keeping in a theme, this could easily be 1 collection, 2 collections, 3 collections, or go to different links and different categories. Or these could even be a single product, another product, another product, and you're just bringing things together. If you are able to work with a graphic designer or have a little Photoshop magic, having some little touches will make a difference and make it feel like it's not just an ordinary category page, but you don't need to necessarily custom build and have a huge endeavor for that. If you can offer gift wrap, whether you're charging for it or not, That's always something that's requested, and it's just a question of bandwidth of actually being able to wrap packages before they go out and how much of a fulfillment bottleneck that is. Also offering gift card or a message. We know, folks, that if a gift message comes through in the notes field of checkout, they will actually handwrite a card and send that off. Even though it didn't say, hey, they'll get a gift card, it's just a much nicer experience. It's a surprise for someone. It makes it feel like it's a nice human touch, right? There are little things you can do. There's little extras that make that unboxing experience, that gifting experience feel a little more special. People really appreciate that. And it's not a whole lot of more effort or time, hopefully, on your end. This is an example of a sort of fancier gift wrap selector where you can select when you're selecting a product, you can check off and actually, pick some options. There's some apps that do this. This happens to be custom coded, but there's a variety of things where you could have a standard one, maybe standard's free or it's a lower price. And if you want to have something that's wrapped with a gold paper or fancier paper or had a ribbon, you can also upsell these. Again, it's an easy way to provide some variety and value as well. So it seems like every day in the news, we see different items about the supply chain and all of the woes that folks are having. We all know this, we've all experienced this. I was just reading this morning that Biden had the head of FedEx, UPS, and all these different Target, et cetera, over to the White House to talk about this. So this is obviously top of mind for a lot of people, and even consumers who aren't running businesses are concerned and saying, well, how early do I need to buy? And is it really going to get delivered, or will they say it's on back order, et cetera? So there's definitely more scrutiny than ever in terms of deliverability this holiday. People will have more anxiety than we've seen in years past about whether orders are going to ship when they say they will and whether products are truly in stock or not. So for one, just really make sure your inventory control is accurate. If there's any chance you're going to run out of something, make sure that inventory is tracked, that it doesn't allow overselling. Your lead times are correct, and to the extent of your ability, communicate it to the customer. So maybe you need a 2-day processing lag, or maybe you're seeing that USPS is taking an extra 3 days. If you know that and you feel like that's true, it should be clear before someone buys something and not after and saying, well, actually it's going to be delayed. So being upfront and honest and clear about communication is going to be really important. You could also consider messaging pre-orders or estimated ship dates for things that are actually back ordered, but you have a high degree of confidence that you can get resupplied, saying, right now let's say it's November 15th, this will ship on November 25th. Doesn't mean it's shipping today, but it will ship, in time for holiday. That will allow you to sell that and not miss the opportunity of those few weeks of sales. But again, you just have to be clear which products, which options is applied to, and when is there a good date. In general, we see pre-orders, we'll see most success if they're within 2 weeks of the current date. So if it's, hey, this will be available in a month, most people aren't going to touch it. But if it's available in 2 weeks, people think, oh, 2 weeks from now, it's not too bad. It's still not Christmas yet or whatever. People will pull the trigger. Just make sure that you have a decent degree of confidence on that, because that is a promise to your customer. We also encourage you to get the shipping costs as low as you can afford to, because it will make a difference. Unfortunately, there has been a race to the bottom for free shipping because of the predominance of Amazon, as we all know. People do love it, but of course, free shipping is never free. It's always built in the margin. And if it's possible to do that, I would recommend it. But even having lower flat rate tiers that are somewhat subsidized will help people pull the trigger as well. And for holiday, if you do have a commodity item, something that someone else manufactured and built or produced, and other people resell it, when it comes down to it, people will load up 3 different carts and see what the shipping is 3 different times rather than just automatically pay for shipping outright. So that's really important as well. And then also consider doing some reporting on the historic shipping that was charged to the customer, saying, hey, how much did we charge last year, the last 12 months, year to date, last 6 months for shipping versus how much do we actually pay the carriers, and see if you're making money. If there's margin there, you might be able to drop your rates for a few months or decide to subsidize that. If you're already losing money on shipping, you should know that now before you go in and start promoting it. And we've all seen these headlines, but so have all of our customers as well. So onto the offer. What actually will you be selling and promoting? Again, we can't answer that for you, but we do have a couple ideas. The question is, when will you start and end? So there's some pros and cons to timing here. I believe Target announced their free Black Friday sale already, given that it's not even Halloween. We've seen a couple of people do this in the past. Seems like every year it shifts a little bit. So we've seen it as early as 2 weeks before actual Black Friday date of releasing to about 1 week. I would say we've seen the standard be about a 1 week jump on Black Friday itself. This also has depended year to year based on when Thanksgiving falls relative to the month. So this year it's pretty good. It's earlier than the last couple of years, right? So we have some time, but I would say generally plan on having all your ducks in a row and getting ready and having things ready about a week ahead of time. Now, of course, if you have a retail shop, you may want to start the holiday season earlier because you see that there's foot traffic. By all means, think that up. If you go online with that, that's fine. But in general, we'll see that's about a week early. The end date this year, is going to be probably based on your carrier shipping costs. When is the last time you can send a package and still get there in time for holiday? That's going to have to be communicated to your customers. That also may be when you want to stop the sale or bump down your sale. And I would also encourage you to think about Cyber Monday, which is of course the sort of first office day for most people after Thanksgiving holiday. We've seen in the last few years that has actually been a much, much bigger day than Black Friday itself, because so many people have pulled the sort of date and zone of when the sale starts. Now, of course, if you start really early, you'll also have the risk of maybe discounting to people who would do it otherwise. And we're also looking at, people potentially holding off in these next couple of weeks in October and knowing that there's going to be sales in November. So if you don't start a sale early, you have people on the fence, they're going to be waiting for weeks and weeks. Is it better to capture that and sort of pull that forward, or is it better to really concentrate and just get a huge amount of volume in a short amount of time? That's really up to you and what you've seen with your business, but just consider playing with that. There's a lot of different types of offers. There's the sort of classic buy one, get one. There's buy, this to get that. The more you buy of any one thing, the more you save. So sort of tiered pricing where you buy 100, you get 10% off. Buy $200, you get 20% off, et cetera, to incentivize higher and higher AOVs. We have buy one, give one, which could be, hey, you buy a t-shirt and you can give one as a gift and you only pay for one, but you're getting two, and therefore you're treating yourself and you're treating someone else. Those are all typically executable with a coupon structure or a discount app or a sort of manual pairing where you can sort of curate what you want that collection to be or what you want that tier to be. And those are all things that ultimately the key is you're trying to get folks to buy more. You're trying to get the amount of units out the door up and trying to get the average order value up. And so that allows you to be a little more extreme or a little higher in the value that you're discounting, but it's also, it feels less discounty because you're not just saying, hey, it's X dollars. You're getting folks to engage more, to commit to more, and then they're getting a value, which is essentially another product instead of just the actual dollar amount of that product. And that perception psychologically is that you're getting more, and it also makes it a little less transactional, and you feel like, you know, we're just saving a huge amount of money and the brand is being super discounted. Right? There's also debate in terms of coupons versus markdown pricing, right? So do you want to have experience where you're sharing a coupon? Maybe it's on email, maybe it's even just on the site, maybe it's in an ad, but people have to do the work at the end of the checkout process to make sure that it's applied, make sure they get the discount, etc. Or do you want to do marked down pricing, whereby you'll just go through and you'll edit all your prices and it'll just already be discounted, so there's no work on the behalf of the user or the customer. They just go through and everything's already marked down to the extent that it is, and boom, you're done. We see a lot of people do markdown pricing this time of year specifically because it's just easy to do, see that strike through and say, hey, it was this and now it's that. Isn't that a huge amount of money? That's great. But if you're doing a smaller discount, let's say you're doing 10% instead of 20%, or 20 instead of 30, etc. Obviously, that it's more dramatic the higher that you go. And with couponing, a lot of times you can block coupons from stacking, so you can't use multiple ones. Whereas if you have markdown pricing, someone could actually, in theory, apply a coupon on top of that. So again, you have to be careful about what offers are out there in the wild. Do you have an affiliate program? Have you shared a special promo with bloggers? You know, is there something out there that they're actually going to apply on top of what you've already discounted, and making sure that those are taken care of as well. There's also bundling. Bundling is actually quite complicated. In theory, it sounds easy in that you're like, hey, we have these 3 products, we want to sell them together and give someone a discount. Problem is that most of the time, those 3 products are all independent. They have their own inventory, stock status, pricing, and giving the combo on it, the pricing on exactly that combo, but considering any other exceptions and multiples and so forth, and adding it all to cart at once, it just ends up, it's just a complex thing. It just ends up being a little trickier than it looks on the consumer side to execute that as a business. So I would definitely consider it if you have the means to do it, but it's also a little tricky to set up and get going the first time. So if you don't have experience with it, and you don't have time to really test it and make sure it's all fully working, I would defer this until another time. But bundling, again, is another way to get more units out the door and the AOV up in a purchase. And then also we want to mention, even though it's not necessarily a direct discount, supporting a cause. There's Giving Tuesday. We've seen folks doing matching donations. Hey, we'll give you 10% off, but then we'll also donate 10% to a charity. Any kind of purpose-driven promo, if that's in your company DNA, if that's something that your audience and your sort of customer base will really resonate with and enjoy, really consider thinking about that as well, because it's a nice thing to do. There's also various apps that will allow people to just elect to add on their own donation of something, particularly with gifting, and saying, hey, I also donated, you know, planted a tree, or I also donated this with your gift. Something that gives people a little extra feel good is always good to have as well. So with all that percolating around, I'd like to talk about email marketing as our first sort of specific actionable strategy within this spectrum of promotions.
Yep. So here at Hidden Gears, we consult with email marketing strategy. We typically aren't sending the emails out ourselves, but we help retailers create a strategy around email that includes what are the automated, flows that might be sending, segmenting and understanding their customers. And this is because email is sort of the lowest cost, but potentially highest return email or marketing channel you might have. Doesn't cost that much to send someone an email, and they're already on your list, so it's sort of a captive audience. Depending on what platform you're working on, you probably will have some data in that email marketing platform. We have great experiences with Klaviyo, MailChimp, also can do well, but if you're on Shopify, they don't necessarily sync. You would need like a third-party tool like ShopSync. But either way, you want to take that email list and really get as much data as you can about these customers. They could have signed up while they're already checking out. They could have signed up in the footer. You know, you really don't know. And the more you take the time to segment that list, the better you can kind of personalize your content to them. So one of the most effective things that we think is a good thing to do around this time of year, or definitely a couple weeks before your Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer happens, is to try to win back some of the customers that may have just unsubscribed, may not have purchased in a while, are otherwise inactive. So sometimes we'll justify that by people who haven't made an order in the last 6 months to a year. That's a big range. It really does depend on your business. If you have a product that is sort of a reorderable product, you'll know best. And then maybe folks who have not opened an email recently. If possible, you can also parcel that out by what is their lifetime customer value that this person might have if we were able to get them back. And if you have a large catalog, you can also sort this content by product type. So say you know that you sell apparel and you know that a customer once bought a blazer but never bought the matching pant, you might follow up with sort of a deal for that matching item that you know they have. And the idea is to give them a little bit of a reintroduction to who you are and what you do. Since they haven't been necessarily engaged with you, they could have just, forgotten why they were on the list in the first place. So it's good to remind them of your value and then give them a little discount so that they can become a customer again. That will help create your more engaged list for when you do your bigger sale later on. That's one option. The other option is to do just an additional discount for Black Friday, Cyber Monday that is a little bit juicier or in some way feels personalized to them, just to get them ordering during the holidays. This is just a couple visual examples of what a win-back kind of looks like in terms of language. You can see that it's very light on copy. It's really focusing on the call to action. The one on the left offers a discount. The one on the right offers an option to modify your preferences. If it's like, hey, we know you might just not be interested, then maybe select to receive fewer emails or even unsubscribe. Because in the end, if no one is going to come back to you, you don't really want them to stay on your list. It will depress your open rates. They're sort of dead weight. So doing a win back sort of on an ongoing basis is a good thing to set up. And once you set it up, it's automatic. Another option is a VIP discount. Are there customers that you know that are really remarkable people who've ordered from you, say, a certain amount of times or spent over a certain amount of money? Doing just a little email to make them feel special really goes a long way. It doesn't necessarily need to be a discount. It could be just a special add-on, a special gift, early access to the sale, what have you. And it really resonates when this feels like a real personal recognition. So you can see some examples here where there's, a sense of like, you've been upgraded. Here's some access to some information or to some sales that we're not just giving around to anybody. Another thing is giveaways. This is also something we would recommend doing in advance of the holiday to, again, grow your list. You've probably seen many giveaways where of one brand and they're partnering with 5 other brands to collect emails to offer a big prize. Typically, when those are successful and in terms of getting a lot of subscriptions, usually a brand will partner with another brand that has a complementary product or has an audience that will be similar to theirs. And so they do that as a way to share to share resources and to grow lists collectively. And once that list is given to each brand, there's often a high amount of attrition from the email list unsubscribing again, saying, I didn't win. I'm not actually interested in like this one brand, but I will stay on these others. And so after a giveaway is finished, and when that list is in the process of being incorporated into your own list, it's a good idea to just follow that up with like a welcome email again, maybe tailored to them. and a discount so they can become customers and understand who you are right away. You want people to really stay, especially if you're going into another time when you're going to be doing a lot of promotion. And the way to kind of publicize that would be through that partnership with the brands, sharing it on social media, sharing it through various emails, include it in all of your holiday campaigns, and really just try to grow your list in anticipation for that holiday season. A couple examples, when a shopping spree, a way to kind of get people motivated to do something, to increase sales in the moment. Like urgency does work a lot of times with email, just because we are very attention, distracted. And so doing reminder emails when a sale is ending, doing reminder emails to people who've not converted yet, who've not bought yet, is really effective. And then lastly, there's the abandoned cart. You might already have this in place, in which case just reviewing the content and making sure that your promotion, your language is timely, is sufficient. If you don't have one in place, what this is an email that gets sent when a customer abandons their checkout. So at the moment that they've already entered their email to purchase, but haven't actually bought the products, they have closed the window, or they just never completed the checkout. We have gotten their email, and we also know what products they have in their cart or in their checkout. So abandoned cart emails will go out usually about an hour after that checkout is abandoned, reminding people, hey, did you forget something? And that's also something that, recovers a good percentage of carts that are abandoned. Some merchants like to offer discounts, some do not. If you were to offer a discount, I wouldn't offer it in the first email, maybe do it in the follow-up email, because you don't really want to train customers to abandon carts to get discounts. So it's all really what you can afford to do. But even without a discount, they're very effective. Sort of just a basic need, I think, of e-commerce nowadays. And sorry about that. And then SMS. More and more email marketing platforms are adding support for text marketing. It does require some time to set up. You need to get a verified number. You need to decide internally what your policies are, how often you're going to send. There's opt-in and consent that needs to be taken before you can actually just text people, just like email, you need consent. And there are also automated flows, just like email, that you can send. It's also as you know, it's exclusively written. So what is your voice, and what is the word count, keeping it very short. I wouldn't recommend, generally we don't recommend launching huge initiatives that you haven't done before in the months prior to the holiday, just to get it up for holiday. It usually adds a lot of unneeded stress, and it's challenging to test out and really even observe whether the results were notable when you're going through a period of high activity. But this is definitely something that we think is really on the up and up. Right now, the language that's being given is that, when you send an email, maybe only 20% of people will read it, but when you send a text, it's more like 90 or 100%. And that's because it's just a new way for us to be getting information. I imagine that will go down as people get, annoyed with SMS marketing to a certain point. But it's an interesting new tool, and we recommend that you guys kind of assess whether that's something you'd want to look into and plan for it in Q1.
Also note, if you do have people's phone numbers as part of your customer data and they have signed up to the email list, that does not mean you can text them. Mm-hmm. You have to have a special text opt-in. So you can't just take your list and just sort of start texting people. You do need to get a specific consent for that. So if you are going to start a program, you can send out an email to your list and say, hey, we're going to start texting, and there'll be special offers, or there's going to be some incentive to get people to also opt into that. But you can't just start texting what you would consider your house list.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so that takes us through email marketing. I think we have about 15 minutes for questions, so we're pretty much right on time. I'll open it up and see what comes through on everything.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. We don't have any questions right now in the Q&A, so maybe we just give a minute or two for the audience to kind of take in what you guys have shared so far.
Sure.
And then just a reminder for everyone, you won't be getting a copy of the slides, but the webinar is recorded. So we will send it by email to all of you, and it will be on our website as well. Okay, so first question coming in. Can we talk a bit more about how to set up a giveaway with other partners?
Sure. That's a really good question. So I think the first thing is to really pick the right brands to partner with. As your own store, you're going to want to pick a brand or brands that have maybe even a larger email list or social following than you have.
Slightly.
If it's too large, they're not going to be interested in partnering with you. But the goal ultimately is to grow everyone's contacts. Then you can also decide whether you want this to be publicized on email and social media, or one or the other. Sometimes giveaways are really set up with the goal to grow a social following as part of the ways to enter. You have to like this post, you have to also join the email list. Making the steps that someone has to take to enter as simple as possible is really key to just getting the most signups. But be really clear about whether this is to grow social, whether this is to grow email, whether you're trying to do both, and make sure you set up your onboarding to capture those things.
It's really a question of honestly Googling around and finding other brands that you like and admire and trying to find a contact info for them, because depending on the size of the brand, even figuring out who to talk to is going to be a little bit of a process. You can think of it in terms of like, sort of journalistic research. It's like, okay, if we're going to write an article about someone, how would we get a quote from it? Well, would we talk to the marketing person? Would we talk to the CEO? Would we, reach out to their sort of general contact form? It's going to take time to hear back from people and so forth. And the better aligned you are in terms of, hey, I think we make these products and you make these would go really nicely together. And I think we could do something together, and just honestly, have a quality in terms of that partnership. If you try reaching out to, a huge brand, they're probably not going to respond and say, why should we help you? Because we're 10 times bigger than you. If you're like, hey, they have about the same amount of Instagram followers, or maybe they're slightly bigger, but we have something that we think their audience will like, that's really when it's going to be effective. And also just being clear about how you're going to make this partnership work. So think about, okay, well, we all separately send packages to them, or should I take on the role of sort of organizing this and say, hey, could you send the product to me and I'll send it out to the winner? And how are we going to share the email lists? Is it just going to be 50-50 if there's two of us, or does every brand get it? And like, what do we need to, whose site does the landing page go on? Sort of think about those kind of contingencies. So by the time you do get through to someone, you actually have that sort of plan together.
Yep. The next question is it recommended to do a get ready? Our sale is starting next day's email before it starts to get people excited. How many pre-emails would we suggest sending? One thing that we try to do is actually not overwhelm the email list with too many emails in advance of a big promotion. Every time you send emails out, some portion of folks will unsubscribe. You could send out maybe one email. I wouldn't do too many. It's not something that's really actionable for them yet. And if you're emailing it, they're already on your email list. I might move this messaging to like, put it on your website, have a countdown, put it in your social media, and get it out in alternative ways. Because really with email, once they get that announcement is when they're actually going to be excited. If it's something like a flash sale where it's only going to be up for like a day, maybe then, I would suggest
if it's a very limited sale, I would say yes. Otherwise, you're basically just telling people, don't order yet, don't do anything, just delete the email, which there's not a lot that someone can do with that. Unless, again, there's a contest or there's some extra special VIP thing, we'd probably avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Nisa's question, so how might you capture and segment separate emails for a giveaway campaign? So for a giveaway, you want to make sure that whoever sort of the main contact collecting those emails, that's going to a separate list and it's not going in your house list. So you'll be able to export that and share that with the partners. And so that you also know what that source is if you roll that into your main list ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of segmenting them, what we would recommend typically is, let's say you have your house list of people who've been getting emails from you. You just finished a giveaway, you have that list. Number one, you want to announce the end of the giveaway and saying, hey, we had a winner and the winner's, was so-and-so, and that's so great. And potentially re-engage and saying, you know what, but thanks for trying, and like, here's a coupon, or here's some, we'll be in touch about other ways that you might be able to do this in the future. Have just a sort of closing point so people know, okay, well, I didn't make it, but now I still like this, so I still might order it anyway. What we'd recommend typically is that after that, doing that initial sort of closeout, hey, it's over email, that you email the same content to your main list as that separate list independently for a couple times, so that you can track and see how those new folks react to the content that you have in the beginning, and how much drop off there is, and see what their open rate is, and sort of what that baseline is. How aligned are these new people? And then ultimately, for deduping and ease of use and so forth, it's best to sort of like roll those together and eventually merge in those emails, at which point you do that, you could tag them with a parameter or a customer tag or something that says, hey, they came in through the XYZ giveaway. And so that, a year down the road, you can say, oh yeah, how much revenue do we make from the people who signed up during that giveaway? And you can report on that as well. Had another question about corporate gifting. What's the best way to make companies aware that we can do this? Or do we offer this as a separate tab on our website, in which case, what would make it attractive to them? Special offer or otherwise? A lot of times, I feel like there is actually, it's typically one of those footer links, or if you do a lot of gifting, it might be in your top navigation, but really it's at least just a landing page that says, we have a program, we have experience doing this. Is there an order minimum? Is there a lead time? Anything that they would need to know. So they say, okay, yeah, this will work because we have 2 weeks, or I really need something like tomorrow sent out because I'm last minute, and just setting those expectations. If you've done something like putting together custom products, either that are branded, or let's say a custom gift basket, have photos of those, have documentation of like the types of things you've done, if at all possible, if they're shareable, to say like, here's examples of the things that we've done in the past. I would say then the number one thing is you want to make it easy for them to send to a whole list of people without them making 15 different orders. And you can say, hey, we'll offer you 1 flat rate shipping, or we'll offer, you send us one list, like fill out this form and we'll do the rest. Anything that indicates the convenience of the program. And if there also is a discount, saying, hey, we'll also give you 10% off, or what have you.
Yeah, I would say commonly what we actually see with corporate gifts is that it's not something that a company representative is just actually buying as a typical customer. They're usually making a bigger spend. They want to maybe have a conversation with you. So it's some kind of like existing catalog or form to review, and then a submission to a contact person. So kind of qualifying like a landing page like that with, here's, if you buy this much, you'll get this bulk discount. Call us with any questions, having that like personal layer, it's actually not so much usually a direct e-commerce experience as it is like presenting the options and packaging so they understand what you can do, and then cultivating them, because the way that they would typically want to order it may not be supported by your direct to consumer products. You know, you might allow some customization or personalization, or you can take their address lists and print labels. So I think formal, really depending on how the program is going to run for your operations, will inform how you present it.
And also, if it is a local themed product and you think that these would be bought locally, also anything about delivery or pickup or what have you, also just knowing that the options are there again, so that they can just cross things off their list easily.
Great questions.
We have 5 more minutes. Let's see if anything else comes in. Or in the meantime, if there's a lot they can do, but time is kind of running short. So what would you recommend would be one thing they have to do, just across all the different tactics that you shared today?
Yeah, I would say the number one is to just really get clear on what you want your promotion to be and make it simple. It doesn't need to be super elaborate. With the time, depending on what platforms you're on, make sure it's something you can implement without, in-house or yourself. Doesn't require, new development, all of that.
Also, yeah, just make sure all your exceptions are handled. So if you have things on sale or that have been on clearance, are these going to apply to them? Do you want to blow them out or not? And also just coming up with the amount of discount, what you can afford. Typically, we see that 30% or more is the baseline for a true sort of significant Black Friday sale, unless you are a company that never does a sale other than Black Friday, in which case we will see 20% or something like that. So it is definitely considered by most people to be the best, sort of deal of the year. And if that is the case also, and that, and that's going to be true, make sure people know that as well, particularly within your house, email list and so forth. So people know, okay, this is really my shot to get the best deal. I'm going to do this now and commit. But yeah, the more you have to explain it, if it takes more than 5 seconds to explain, it's probably too complicated.
Yeah.
You don't need BOGO and tiering and certain exceptions and whatever. Just pick one lane and be clear and true to that.
Yep. And I would say the second thing would be to study your email list and see what learnings you can get from that. Not overwhelm them with too many emails in advance. Make sure the design is clean. Make sure your transactional emails work, because those are the correspondence they're going to be really getting immediately from you when that goes on.
Yep. And if you've been doing this for a while, obviously looking at year over year, what did we do last Black Friday, the Black Friday before that, the holiday before that? See where your trend lines have been going. See what people remember. Oh yeah, I remember that, we did this and people really responded way better to that. Just using what's in your wheelhouse. It's easy to forget because it's been a heck of a year so far to like what worked in the past, and what worked in the past doesn't necessarily work now. But if you have your own historical baseline, certainly go back to that as your touchstone and say, oh, actually the best Black Friday email we ever sent was this one. Maybe we should think about bringing out that type of offer back to the fold. So tomorrow we'll be talking ads. The landscape has changed a lot over the last year, so we'll be covering also like what's different from this holiday versus last, some organic search and social, and talking about competition as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Great. You have your emails up there. So feel free to contact Paolo or Akemi if you have questions, specific questions that you want to talk to them about. Again, there's a second part to this webinar. So remember to join us tomorrow, same time. Nicole will be sending out the Zoom link through email. So check your inboxes, and we'll see you tomorrow. I would also like to encourage everyone else to attend our upcoming webinar on November 3rd, where we'll be covering data privacy and practices. If you're engaging e-commerce, I know Paulo talked a little bit about, how you're not supposed to just take people's emails and phone numbers and do campaigns around them without asking. So if that's something that you want to explore, you should definitely join us on this upcoming webinar where we'll also talk about privacy policies, cookie policies, GDPR, CCPA, and all the different privacy things you need to think about within e-commerce and digital marketing. So the link to RSVP for that webinar, as well as to rewatch this one, will be shared in the chat box. So visit our website to get more details. Again, thank you so much, Paulo and Akemi, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.